You're listening to Oilersnation Radio, presented by the Nation Network. Subscribe for free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Welcome to Oilersnation Radio, episode 91. It is the, you could call it the Päiväri Svensson.
The MPS.
Episode.
The MPS episode.
Or Mike Comrie 2.0, whichever you prefer.
Sure.
Remember that preseason game, man, when they were like chanting his name?
Yeah, because like I was traveling at the time. Didn't he get like a hat trick and a scrap or something? Like it was a big game.
Yeah, I was at that game too. I think it was against the Flames actually in the preseason. And yeah, he scored, got an assist, and got into a scrap or something like that. It was a wild game.
I remember also a preseason game where I watched Magnus Päiväri score a hat trick, and I thought it was against Tampa. And I thought that, I'm like, oh, fuck, this guy might be the best of the three of them, meaning Taylor Hall, Eberle, and Päiväri. Well,
my favorite preseason memory is Igor Ulanov getting an intent to injure penalty back in the early 90s because he swung his stick at a guy.
Well,
in the preseason.
You know what? Preseason has got like, even just like training camp leading into preseason has got some hilarious memories. Like, remember when Ben Eager, that was
what I was going to say.
In the Joey Moss Cup? And then he was just never the same. Yeah, and then where did that Russian kid go? Like, nobody knows. Never heard from him again. As always, I want to thank our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant out in beautiful Sherwood Park, Alberta, home of not just Sherwood Ford, but the Edmonton Donair champion, famous Donair, crowned this morning from Sherwood Park. Jared in sales called me this morning. He was so excited that he had to get a sneak peek on how the votes went before I made the announcement. How big it was.
He had a single man push going on. I saw some stuff on Twitter. He was calling people out, trying to get them, everyone to help him win that one.
Well, it was hilarious because Famous knocked out Jay's pick, Mom's Donair, to get into the finals. So Jay, knowing that Jared is a famous guy, did like a heel turn on Jared and started pushing for Manas yesterday very aggressively.
That's what I missed.
Needless to say, the Edmonton Donair Championship, the first annual Edmonton Donair Championship, was passionate to say the least.
The place from Beaumont?
Beaumont, like the entire town of Beaumont basically voted. The city, like the city's official accounts were sharing it, like businesses were sharing it. It was impressive.
The true champions were kicked out in round one. After that, it went sideways. Sorry guys. Top prime time. They should have gone further.
I'm a boxer guy myself.
And see, like what this was for me is an opportunity to try a lot of Donair shops. Overall, we had 40 in the mix, down to one. It took about 6 weeks to get here, but we did it. Well,
I bet you if you ask the owners of Famous and some of the later exits, they'll probably tell you that they've seen a bump in their business just because people are going to be interested to check them out, and people should check out all the places on that list and support local.
Well,
the Stepankos and Surveyor Brett going to like every place we had it out there.
Well, and that's exactly what it's about, right? It was all about getting people out into local business, having some fun. Donairs are such an Edmonton thing. Sorry, Dan Halifax. But there's such like a local thing that everybody's got their shop. And it was just fun. It was a fun way to spend 6 weeks, get people out. And to answer Dan's question, we got DMs on Instagram. We got DMs on Facebook. We got them on Twitter, everywhere, from shop owners just being like, hey, thank you for doing this. We know it was all in fun. It was all about getting people out. And like Rick said, the Stepankos, Surveyor Brett, they're checking them all out. And I encourage you to do the same. Check our socials for the entire bracket. Now, I want to start off today's podcast. We talked about it a little bit yesterday on Real Life, but I want to talk about it again today. Right now, boys, there is a Connor McDavid rookie card up for auction at Leyland's Auctions. It has got 7 hours and 45 minutes left on the bid as we start recording here just after 1 p.m. in Edmonton. Right now, the current bid, the high bidder right now is $93,534 US. That's US. So according to a quick little website here, into converting into Canadian, that's about $127,000, give or take.
Is that Wanye who's got that bid in, or what?
Maybe if it was like an Eberle one in his rookie year.
Oh, yeah.
But hey, yesterday,
I got a real nice Jordan Eberle rookie card up here in my office. Actually, I should pawn that off on someone.
Well, that brings me to the question here, Merch Daddy, is obviously $128,000 on our Connor McDavid rookie card.
Yeah,
is somebody with some serious fuck you money.
Yeah. So
I got a couple of questions for you, Tyler. I'll start with you because you probably, maybe you or Rick. So I'll start with you guys. Have the most probably memorabilia out of any of us.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at a piece that you love, and Dan, I know you've bid on stuff at silent auctions at Nation events as well. What's your, if you find something that's your perfect piece, for me as an example, let's say it's an autographed nude something, and I'm like, man, I need to have that. What's your ceiling?
Yeah, it kind of varies person to person. This McDavid card, let me just first, for those who are wondering how a hockey card gets to be worth $120,000, the reason this card, I did this yesterday on Real Life, but I feel like there's some people who are like, I don't get why it's that expensive. So it's from a product called the Cup, which is the highest end type of hockey card there is. It's 1 tin of these cards, comes with 7 hockey cards in it, and it costs around $700 for a tin when the product first drops. So you're paying you're paying $100 a card essentially just to get this. This McDavid card is from his rookie year, so 2015-16 is the product year. It's called the Rookie Patch Auto. So it's from his rookie year. It's autographed by McDavid, and it comes with a piece of a patch of his game-worn jersey. And this one has a beautiful patch in it, has 3 different colors, all that stuff. And it's serial numbered to 99, which means there's only 99 of these available. And this particular McDavid card is number 97. So it's even more valuable because it's his jersey number. It's also been professionally graded to be a 9 out of 10 in terms of quality. So it's pretty much as nice as it can get. It's in brand spanking new shape and all that. So that's why that particular card is worth so much. For me, it would really depend on the product, right? Because would
you go to $1,000?
Well, and again, this McDavid card, if I was in some random auction and some guy was selling that and it was at $5,000, man, I'm jumping all over that. I'm putting a ton of money into it because I know how much it's going to be worth down the road. Same thing for if I ran into someone who was like, hey, I'm getting rid of these old hockey cards. I have a Connor McDavid Young Gun rookie card. I would be more than willing to spend over $500, $600, $700, $800 on that card because I know in my brain, how much that's going to be worth in 5 years. So for me, I would look at it more as an investment to gauge how much I should be putting into it. If it's something that I think is just really cool, but doesn't have a lot of value, I'd say my cap for just a nonsensical memorabilia purchase is probably $50. But if I think there's value in this thing and I can potentially turn a profit in a few years, for me as a collector, and that's kind of what I do, it's my hobby in my spare time, I have no problem getting serious if I think I can flip this thing.
Do you have anything in your current collection that would be deemed valuable or at least trending that way?
Yeah, I have a Connor McDavid Young Gun rookie card that I bought for $150 off someone, and I went and got it graded actually. So that one's it's worth a bit. It'll get over if I wanted to put it on eBay or whatever. It'd probably go for over $1,000. I have a lot of Oilers stuff just kind of hanging around. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how valuable any of it is. But my favorite one that I have in my collection, again, I said this on Real Life yesterday, I kept the program from the Oilers' first game back into the playoffs in 2017. I eventually got it signed by Zach Kassian as well. And that one's cool for me because I went with my dad. We were Oilers season ticket holders for so long. I never really got to see a playoff game in my formative years of being a hockey fan. So that's one that has some sentimental value. My dad has a program because he was at the first Oilers WHA game at Rexall Place or Northlands Coliseum. And then me and him went to the last game. So I have those 2 programs, but I have them away in a box. I don't keep them out and about. So for me, my favorites are the ones that I can kind of hold near and dear and have some sentimental value, right?
Well, that was going to be my follow-up question. So would you say that program from the playoffs would be your most kind of sentimental item?
Yeah, I think so. And when I look around kind of at what I have out right now, it's probably worth the absolute least, right? But it's the one that I always look at and it always brings a smile to my face because I'm oh, damn, that was such a fun day. That was such a fun night. That was such a good little playoff run there. So, I'd say that one's probably number 1 on my list.
Rick, what about you? You got anything in your collection that is either A, actually worth some money, or B, just a sentimental value that it doesn't really matter what it's worth?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. I know actually through work I've gotten a couple things. I got a big Grant Fuhr picture that they got signed for me. And then I actually got a signed Connor jersey from his first year, so before he signed his upper deck shit and all that.
Yeah.
One of my buddies actually just went to his house and got it signed, and that was, I can't remember what exactly it was given to me for.
No big deal. That's a minor flex there.
Right. I also have a couple. I do have a couple of programs at home too. I know I've got a couple from the Heritage game, the Gretzky retirement game in Edmonton, and whatever '99. I think I have a Yari Curry one, and a couple others that are just kind of small like that. Oh, I still have my ticket from the Wayne Gretzky game as well. They gave everybody your ticket. You got to put on a lanyard with a little plastic thing. And then I've got a stick signed by the last team to win the cup, the 91 team. My dad gave that to me for a birthday. He told me, for your birthday present, you're getting a whole bunch of toothpicks. So that was kind of the running joke for the month before my birthday. And then, I got a stick. So it's signed from Ranford to Lowe's and McTavish. Everybody on that team is there. So I think the stick is probably my number one.
And to the original question, so like none of us are gonna be dropping $127,205 on this McDavid auction. But like, if you see a piece that you like, what would you be comfortable throwing down on it?
Yeah, I'm a little dumber there. So if it's if I'm not reselling it or anything like that, if it's just something to put on my wall or a shelf or something, I'd probably put $100-$200 on it, just for some whatever. And then, like Tyler said, if it was something that I could turn around and resell later on for some serious value turn up, I'll go figure out a way to put $5,000 down on a card that I know is going to be worth something.
Mr. Daniel, I've seen you bid on some silent auction items at some Nation events. Let's talk merch. What do you got? How much would you spend, and what's most sentimental to you?
I've got a pretty good random smattering of stuff. I'm kind of in the same vein as Rick there with and Tyler too. Stuff has to have a meaning to me and more than just, mostly value. So I have like a signed Warren Moon Eskimos helmet. I've got a picture of Henry Gizmo Williams doing one of his patented backflips signed by Gizmo. I've got a Mike Weir photo that's signed by him right after he won the Masters. I'm a big Dolphins guy, so I got one of those, those Eskimo mini balls?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got one of those. So when Ricky Williams was playing for the Argos, I was working at a place that used to have to do the tailgates for Eskimo games. So after the game, I waited out for an hour or whatever it took, and I actually got Ricky Williams' signature on a little plush Eskimo football.
That's dope.
Yeah, and then like for the weird stuff, like one time I was in Vegas, and it was right around the time that ESPN put out a documentary about Pete Rose, now where he was now. And it turned out he was in a store in Vegas selling his merchandise, signed merchandise. So I went down and met Pete Rose, and that was probably the most awkward conversation I've ever had with another human being in my life. The guy was like trying to upsell me on he would write that he cheated or he bet on baseball if I paid an extra like $400.
That's sweet though.
What a fucking baller.
So it's like, like funny stories like that. But my most prized possessions that I have, and I always kind of told myself that I wouldn't just go out and buy memorabilia of an Oiler that I'd fallen in love with, but I have a signed Connor McDavid photo, and then I have a signed Connor McDavid jersey. Same thing as Rick. I got it right before the Upper Deck deal came in. I heard through the grapevine that the Upper Deck deal was coming down, and so I grabbed it before that. And that's the most I've ever spent on memorabilia, and I don't imagine that I'll ever spend more than I think it was $500 or $600 on
you got
that
a bargain.
jersey.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's now like $1,500 kind of thing. So
easily.
and like my dream memorabilia, and I don't know if you guys have a dream memorabilia for yourselves, but would be a signed Gretzky jersey, and that runs now in like the tens of thousands just to get it from a store. So it's that would be a dream of mine, though.
Which I always found weird, like with the Gretzky jerseys, like and signed stuff being as expensive as it is, because he is by no means shy of signing things. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's I only signed 100 jerseys ever, and that's it, no more.
Yeah.
So that's why I always found it weird. Just to round out the conversation, I'm not a big memorabilia guy. I said it here before. My most sentimental is I've got some programs from the Skyreach Center days, where you used to be able to go outside and hang out in front of the Oilers dressing room and they would sign your stuff. Another question, just while I'm wrapping up mine, is think of your most random autograph that you got, because I just came up with the one that I have and it's hilarious. So my most prized possession, probably not worth a whole lot of anything, but Bill Ranford, I was standing outside the Oilers dressing room. I was probably about 6 or 7, somewhere in there. And he came over, chatted a couple of minutes. It might have even been 30 seconds now that I'm thinking about it, but for me, it felt like an eternity. He was asking about hockey, what position I played, and blah, blah, blah. And he just kind of signed my program. And to me, it's just kind of sitting there, but I love it. It reminds me of a time when I got to go to games with my dad when I was a little kid, got me to be an Oilers fan for life. And that's kind of where it's at. As far as how much would I spend, I don't know. Like, what do I get from you, Nuge? Like, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. But back to the other question that I just came up with. Who is your most random autograph you got, or maybe most obscure or interesting or something like that? I was thinking of mine as I was thinking back to the people that signed my programs. I've got a Polaroid with Mariusz Trzaskowski that he signed.
Polish prince.
That one's hilarious to me. And I've also got Zdeno Seeger's autograph.
Ooh, number 8.
Yeah, number 8, from when you were able to go stand outside the dressing room. And I'll never forget the photo that he signed, because he has got that hilarious Jofa helmet that I wish they still made. I mean, it's not safe at all, but they were hilarious. So I'm going to go around the horn really quickly just to wrap this up. Who is your most random, obscure, interesting, whatever autograph that you've got? Doesn't even have to be hockey. Whoever you got. Tyler, what do you think?
I remember my uncle used to ref the skills competitions, and he would always take me down to like the bowels of Rexall Place after, and I'd go wait for him to finish getting changed, and we'd go home. And once it was after 06, and Dick Tarnstrom was now on the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they were playing in town the next day, and he like signed my program. I also have this one here, man. A nice little, where is that one? Nail Yakupov autographed card.
I love a yak.
Man, when I got that card, I was like, holy shit, this is a gold mine. This is going to be worth thousands one day. I was so stoked. It's probably worth like $10 now.
I did see that Yak just got traded in the KHL just this last week, and it was like for cash consideration or something like that.
Yeah.
Rick, anybody obscure you got over there?
You know what? So I forgot one. So the last Rexall game of the year, downstairs at Rexall, they had a huge party afterwards. It's super like Wanye and Jay didn't know about it. They like went to Gregor, and Gregor didn't tell him about it. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, through work somehow I was able to weasel my way down there. So there's me and a couple of buddies down there. They gave away, you could just pick them up. There's ceramic cookie jars with Oiler logos on it. But we got all of our tickets signed. So I've got all sorts of weird signatures from guys downstairs. But so I kind of knew Gazdick through work a little bit. So when we were talking to him, my buddy's like, oh, you got to sign on the back of his card, but write to him that you're a pussy. So I've got on the back of this card, that's exactly what Gaz wrote. It's at home. So when I get home, like later on tonight or tomorrow, or whatever, I'll take a picture of it and I'll post it. But yeah, it's one of the weirdest ones I think I have.
That's pretty random. Before we move on, I'll still never forget in my life, we were doing a joint merch launch with VG, and we were at the Pine. Do you remember this, Rick? The boys of VG were up here. Luke Gazdick was there because they were launching the Luke Gazdick shirt, which I was coincidentally wearing yesterday, by the way. And he tells us this story that there is a handful of NHLers, active NHLers,
ridiculous,
that do not play with a can. And I could not believe this. That is shocking to me. How does anybody let this happen? How could you let yourself go out there and play hockey without a can on? I don't know. Didn't make any sense to me. Dan, who you got?
My random ones are very obscure. It's I got a couple of like Halifax Mooseheads. So one of my first jobs was working at a movie theater, and a couple of times, just different times, I would have like former Mooseheads come through my line. And of course, I'm a teenager, and junior hockey, big thing out there, and I got all giddy. There's one guy named Rain Carnegie who was just he was just a goon kind of guy. Went out and beat the shit of one guy probably like 2 days before I met him in the lineup, serving him popcorn, and then I just like I think he was walking away, and I was like, Rain, can I get your autograph? And so he's like, I guess, man, and he just like signed a bag of popcorn or something. I have that somewhere randomly in my collection.
See, like, but that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? You've got somebody's signature on a bag of popcorn. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's so random. I've seen it a couple of times before. Like, I'm one of those people that if I see an Oiler out in public, I won't go bother them ever. I have no interest. But I was at the mall. I was at West End one time, and I saw Doug Waite. It was during the Brick tournament, so maybe his kid was playing or something. I have no idea. But somebody walked up to him with just like this haggard, you know, those like really dry, crinkly, scrapey paper towels that you get in public bathrooms.
What the?
That's what this person presented Doug Waite to sign, and he didn't have a pen.
Nice.
I love that. I just
remembered my most obscure one.
Rick, you're in a wind tunnel, man. You gotta hop out of there.
Wind tunnel. Oh, I'm at the patio. That's fine. I'll go inside.
I was working radio or CBC radio security, and child entertainer Fred Penner was a guest on the show.
Nice.
And I asked him for an autograph, and all he had in his hand was his ripped up name tag. So he pieced it back together for me and signed it with like it's a delightful signature. I'll try and see if I can get a picture of it. It's got like music notes and everything in it. But anyways, I have a Fred Penner autograph.
Was Wordbird there?
No, he was all by himself. He was talking about politics, strangely enough.
Tyler, do you have any idea who Fred Penner is?
No.
I didn't think so. He used to crawl through a log, man. He would crawl through a log into like this fantasy place, and he would talk to a blue jay named Jacob.
He seems like a joke.
Wow.
I mean, it was a kid show. It was a kid show.
You bite your tongue, Tyler.
Yeah, you relax. You relax.
I hope that pizza burns your mouth.
I'm eating a muffin now, actually.
You've turned into ON Radio J. You were always having snacks during the podcast.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, today marks a dark anniversary in Edmonton Oilers history. I know none of us want to talk about it. Frankly, I wrote a history piece about the dominating performance in Game 6 the other day on The Nation, and I ended it by saying the series ended there, as far as I know. Pretty sure Game 7 never happened. Don't look that up. But today marks 14 years since the Edmonton Oilers lost out to the Carolina Hurricanes in the Stanley Cup Finals. It was a Cinderella run. They made the playoffs in like the second last game or something like that. Nobody expected them to get past Detroit. Nobody expected them to get past Anaheim and San Jose, yet they did, and there they were, down 3-1, battled back into a seventh game. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be. And Tyler, I know that leads you into our Sherwood Ford Giant question of the week.
Yeah, you know me. I'm an eternal optimist. I don't like dwelling on the negatives or anything like that. So this week, the Sherwood Ford Giant question, based on 06, but I don't want to focus on the sad memory of them losing in 7. I want to focus on the good memories before that. So the question is, what is your favorite memory from the 2006 Stanley Cup run?
I want to start with you, actually, Tyler, just because you were a toddler at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what was your best memory that you can think of from 2006?
So I'll give you two answers here. Like I have a few. I remember I was younger, and at one point me and my dad had like drive my sister to a dance competition, and I like remember hearing a goal on the radio, and my dad like got really excited. He took me to Game 6 though of the Stanley Cup Final. So I remember that. I remember the Torres goal pretty vividly. Like I remember that game, and I remember how loud it was in the rink. So I'm really happy that I do have like that one memory, which is probably one of the better memories of the whole run. But my answer is actually going to be the one I go back and watch the most and still get the happiest rewatching is Ales Hemsky's goal against Detroit round 1. Because without that goal, I mean, the whole run might not happen, right? So for me, it's that Hemsky goal, and it's those Game 6 highlights.
Retired Steve Yzerman.
Yeah.
It's funny you said that, Dan, because I was at that game. It was Yzerman's last NHL game, and I still have my ticket stub somewhere. And it's not signed or anything. It's just in a box. But, like, it's just one of those things like, oh, yeah, I was at Yzerman's last game.
You should send it to him and see if he'll sign it.
Or I can just go to Detroit and find him.
That's true.
Might not be that hard.
Way more effective.
Yeah, and it's an adventure. It's an adventure. Rick, your favorite memory from 2006?
It's tough. I mean, that Hemsky goal is definitely right up there. There's the triple overtime goal versus San Jose.
Yep.
But the one thing that this is more about a certain player than anything else, and maybe just guys from that era, though. when Pronger put that puck into Smith's mouth.
Yep.
And then he just went and got like stitched up like 4 feet behind the bench. Like didn't even walk into like where close to the bar. He just got in that one little alley and they stitched up his mouth right there, and he was back within whatever. He didn't miss a shift.
He got an assist on the winner.
Yeah, like that stuff was incredible, man. That stuff you'll never forget it. But that was just the type of player he was, and that was the type of team we had though at the time. Like 10 of those guys would have done the exact same thing, if not more.
Mr. Nation Dan?
Well, Rick kind of just buried the lead with mine, but my favorite memory is the triple OT goal from Sean Horkoff. But an obscure memory I have from that playoff run. So that was like, I feel like that was like the start of the internet being like a fun place to be a sports fan. Like Twitter hadn't even started yet. Everybody was just kind of all over the place. And I remember this one web series, and I'm going to send you guys the link so that you guys can all see it too. But it's called Knob Hockey, and it was this guy that just had these table hockey sets, and it was this video he did of Ilya Bryzgalov. So for those of us who don't remember, Bryzgalov was there was an image of Bryzgalov just kind of looking around. I mean, he's a space case to begin with, but he's looking around the crowd, and the crowd is singing "Oh Canada," and he is just in awe of what's going on. And so they kind of they like personified exactly what you think of Ilya Bryzgalov now, back then, where he was just like, it's this like internal conversation he's having with himself about not shitting his pants. And he just, it's his big moment. And anyways, it's a hilarious little internet video that always reminds me of 2006 in that run. And they had another video about Ryan Smith getting hit in the face with a puck, and he actually ripped the face of the little table hockey guy and made a muffled voice for Ryan Smith. So yeah, it was just a fun time to be an Oilers fan all around, eh?
Yeah, and that kind of leads into my best memories of 2006 as well. I want to stay away from the hockey a little bit, and I want to focus 3 specific memories that I have on fans. Oilers fans in the playoffs. Like, if you think about now in 2020, or I guess not 2020, but like earlier, they call Rogers Place the library, and we're all quiet, blah, blah, blah. But in the playoffs, that does not happen. This city erupts in the playoffs. And my favorite memories, there were 3. After Game 6 against Detroit, the Oilers closed out the series. I probably high-fived 2,000 people leaving Rexall Place that night. But my favorite memory was actually driving home down 118th Ave. 2 dudes had dragged a trampoline into the middle of the road on 118th Ave, and they were jumping 8-10 feet in the air on this trampoline in the middle of the road. And my favorite part about it was that nobody was mad. 0 people were upset about it. They were all honking, and everybody was on the same page. One of you guys brought up the Horkov overtime goal in the triple overtime. Again, the fans, I was lucky enough to be at that game. They ran out of beer at Rexall, and I don't remember which period it was after, but the deafening boo that came from all the fans at Rexall Place when they ran out of beer was one of my favorite things on earth. It was hilarious. Also that game, honorable mention, Dwayne Rollison with that ridiculous glove save on on Chichu. Like, that was nuts. I remember thinking it was a sure goal. Rolly stopped it. He was just out of this world during that run until, I mean, we don't have to talk about what happened. But then that was Rocket Richard winning Jonathan Chichu too. Exactly. And my third memory is from going down to White Ave after games, and there was a time when the street was just shut off. There was no traffic going through, and it was on the corner where Chapters used to be. There's a telephone line that crosses the street there, and I'm walking down the road with my buddies, and camera phones weren't really a thing. I mean, you could get like a grainy photo maybe, but this guy was shimmying across the phone line across White Ave, and I'm looking up and I'm like, holy shit, this guy is nuts. And then all of a sudden his grip gave way and he just fell into the crowd. And there was just this burst of cheers that erupted as if it was a huge goal when he popped up fine, completely uninjured. And it was just like, Oilers fans are bananas and we deserve playoffs. And I just want to experience some of that again. I even think about 2017 when we were at the Pint when they closed out that first series against San Jose. And I had to jump on the radio with Reed Wilkins immediately after. And his only request from me is that I didn't swear live on the air. And I was like, man, I did great on that radio hit last night. No problem. And then I heard it the next day. Good Lord. That was just shocking that I was on the radio in that state, because we had probably drank all kinds of tequila by that point, probably put back a couple of team pitchers as well. So I love the playoffs. I love Oilers fans. And my best memories from 2006 are the fans. They make it. And I love it. Does that answer the question, Tyler? Sherwood Ford, you happy with that? Of course you are.
That's a hell of an answer.
Thank you. I rattled on. Changing gears entirely, I do want to talk about something that was a little bit fun today. But first I want to shout out our friends at skipthedishes.ca. They are keeping us fed tonight. I have no food in my house, so I am going to be doing a Rick this evening. I will be getting myself an appetizer from one place. I already mapped it out. I will be getting some delicious Chinese food from a place called Lang's here in the West End. I'm very, very excited about it. Skipthedishes.ca wants to make sure that you're fed. They want to make sure that you're safe. Contactless delivery is available. And we do encourage you.
It's much easier to make my job.
We're hearing the ins and outs of the night right now. We are getting a behind-the-scenes look at what's going on in a local business right now. Unbelievable. Skipthedishes.ca. Skipthedishes.ca. Thank you for helping make this possible. Gentlemen, I want to change gears a little bit. Jason Gregor just posted an article at Oilersnation.com about the Hart debate. People love to say that the goalpost moved, myself included. Gregor and I got into it on Twitter a little bit the other day. He loves to argue, and I love to argue with him because it's fun. I still maintain that, we talked about this last Friday, that the Ted Lindsay is the award that I would personally care about. But today we're talking about the Hart, and I specifically want to bring up a quote from David Pastrnak, who was in the mix to be included as a finalist, where he said, absolutely no question, it's going to be and should be Leon Draisaitl. He told reporters last Monday during a conference call. What do you guys think about this Hart debate? Do the goalposts move? I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. We did it last week, but am I wrong when I said to Gregor that the goalposts move on this award every year?
They do.
For certain people, I think, dude. For certain people, like the guys who got to go out there and do whatever, I think some guys do. But in general, I think it's supposed to sit inside the same goalpost. But for individuals who get to vote for it, I think they'll shift a little bit to the left or right.
Rick, we all know that you're throwing shade at Greg Wyshynski. That's all right, man.
Oh, I can't stand that guy. That guy's an idiot.
But you know what? Greg gets people talking. He does a great job of it.
Yeah. It's the thing.
That guy talks more about the Oilers than anybody else. And he sits there and talks about all of our first-round draft picks while his Devils are doing the exact same fucking thing. The guy's an idiot.
The Pastrnak comments, we'll put the Wyshynski topic to bed for now. But the Pastrnak comments from me is just big because that's a guy in the Eastern Conference. He sees Leon Draisaitl twice a year, if that, and he's still got the same opinion that that all Oiler fans do. So it comes back to the fact that the Ted Lindsay is a more deserving trophy in the sense that it's your peers making that decision and not some media guys. But yeah, I mean, when Pastrnak, a guy who sees Leon so little, still recognizes that Draisaitl was the reason that the team was as good as they are this year, that's enough for me.
Tyler, final word. Do the goalposts move on this award or no?
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of reporters, I'm not going to sit here and be like all of them, and I'm not going to bash the PWHA or anything like that, but I do think there are some reporters who have biases, whether they acknowledge them or not, or even aware of them or not. But yeah, I think there are definitely some biases that exist, but what are you going to do, right? That's the way that award works. It's the Hart Trophy, and the MVP of the league as voted on by the professional writers. The Lindsay says it's for the players. We talked about this last week. I think I'd rather be, if I was given an award of, a fellow podcasters or podcast listeners, I think I might value one that comes from the other podcasters because, they kind of have, that was a bit of a shitty example, but you know what I'm saying, right? You'd rather get the acknowledgement from your peers than from the people who don't go through what you go through every day. And I think that's the same thing in this debate here. Like, I'd rather get the acknowledgement from the guys I'm competing against and who are trying to stop me than the guys who are just sitting in the press box. That's myself included, right? Like, I'm not trying to disparage the PWHA, but I could see why a player would rather have the Lindsay Award.
Looking at one voter specifically, TSN Gord Miller tweeted out his ballot. He has first place Draisaitl, second place McKinnon, third place McDavid. So my question to you guys, is there any other team in the league that you could see in a Hart Trophy conversation that they have two guys, whether there's 1-3, 1-4, whatever it is, but two guys in the mix for a Hart? Is there any other team that can do it right now? Maybe
any
Pittsburgh?
Eastern Conference team.
I was going to say Pittsburgh because Sid and Malkin.
Yeah, Toronto for sure with Marner and Matthews.
That just brings me to that TSN tweet. Man, they're so good at trolling.
They are.
And one thing I want to say to Oilers fans, just let it go.
Don't take the bait.
Let it go. They had a thing where it was like, and I'm going to fuck it up, but it was like, reply to this tweet if you would choose Connor McDavid to start your team. Retweet it if it's McKinnon, and favorite if it's Matthews. And obviously on Twitter, anybody who's on Twitter knows that favoriting is the easiest possible way to interact with any tweet possible. So I just thought it was funny. I also thought the responses were funny. And again, I plead to my fellow Oilers fans. Who cares, man? Who cares? But back to the original question. Any other team, realistically, Tyler, I know you're tongue-in-cheek here with your Toronto answer. Any other team realistically where this could happen? Maybe
Pittsburgh. Maybe, and especially back when they were in the middle of their primes, you could say, maybe it's Crosby and Malkin. But for me, I'm not sure if there is a team out there right now who could realistically have two players that are both deserving Hart nominees. And I say deserving in there, and I mean that. Like, are the Oilers as good as they are this year? Are the Oilers a playoff team without Leon Draisaitl this season? Not a chance. Are the Oilers a playoff team without Connor McDavid this season? In my opinion, not a chance. So I think that they are both very deserving of being in that conversation. And it might surprise me a little, but it wouldn't, stun me if they're both nominees here. I think they might get enough respect from the writers.
That would be pretty awesome, to be honest, if you see your finalists are just two Oilers and Nathan McKinnon. Because there's no doubt Nathan McKinnon deserves to be in the conversation.
I think he does, yeah. And I think Panarin does too, to an extent.
But then there goes that conversation about moving the goalposts, right? Because New York,
it
wasn't a playoff team. But they're in the tournament. We'll see, right? Who knows?
Well, when correct me if I'm wrong, but they cast their ballots after they knew the playoff format.
Yeah,
they were due.
So. The ballots were due the other day
recently.
Yeah. So,
but whatever. Again, point here for me at least, Ted Lindsay deserves more love. That's it. We're gonna move on. Changing gears entirely. This week, Tyler, you wrote about a tough subject locally.
Yeah.
The U of A had to shut down its sports for the season, and you wrote about being worried about local sports. And I just kind of want to give you the floor and talk about why this matters and why more people need to care about it.
Yeah, like I'll be the first. I'll start this conversation by saying that I'm 100% biased when it comes to this as well, because I spend most of my weekends throughout the winter. I'm either at Claire Drake Arena watching Golden Bears games, part of the broadcast team there. I'm in Sherwood Park covering Crusaders games for my junior hockey website. I'm at Rogers Place covering Oil Kings games as well for the Nation and for TSN. Like, I am fully embedded in the junior hockey community around here. I'm proud to say that I cover that sort of side of the sport because I love it. Like, I love sort of the different aspects, and like Claire Drake Arena specifically, since that was the news this week that there won't be Golden Bears hockey, basketball, volleyball, any of that this season. It sucks for me because I just look at that as a way for so many people who love the sport to connect with it in a level that's, more personable and more affordable than NHL hockey. And you look at the University of Alberta and who plays in those university hockey leagues. Like, it's guys who don't want to give up on that dream of being professional hockey players, but at the same time they want to get an education. U Sports, that was loud. U Sports allows them the opportunity to do that. And like, that league is so special in that regard because, like I said, you're getting an education while still trying to be a pro hockey player. And the U of A churns out guys. I mean, Kuhnlund Red Star in the KHL has a handful of guys who played on the Golden Bears 2 years ago. Like, Derek Ryan in Calgary was a Golden Bear. Luke Phillips in the Calgary system, he's a Golden Bear as well. So it just really sucks that you're going to lose that year and lose that momentum. And then when it gets to the junior hockey side of the things, like, the WHL came out and said they probably can't have a season without fans. The AJHL is in a bit of a different boat because they have smaller crowds. So even if we're only allowed gatherings of 200 people. The AJHL might survive, but I'm worried that there's going to be long-term impacts of this. And I know that there are a lot of industries that are struggling, and I understand that. But for me personally, to watch what might have to happen in junior hockey over the next 12 months and how it could impact the next decade of these small communities losing their teams and these leagues having to shrink, and that means less players getting the opportunity to pursue scholarships and continue playing the game they love. Like, it just really sucks that this is all happening. And again, I don't want it to sound like I'm standing on some soapbox and saying we need to do more to save local sports. I just want to bring some attention to what they're losing. And here in Edmonton, it's not going to get the attention it deserves because the Oilers can come back in August and this city's going to be madly in love in hockey. But what would happen in communities like Drumheller if they lose their AJHL team? What's hockey look like there? What's their minor hockey look like in the next 5 years if they don't have an AJHL team? Like, you can talk to people from these small towns. Dan, you even said it. How big is junior hockey in Halifax where there's no pro hockey? How many kids grow up in Halifax idolizing the Halifax Mooseheads and wanting to become professional hockey players, not because of what they see on TV on Hockey Night in Canada, but because of what they can see by going to their local rink? And when I hear about these leagues potentially having to stop play for a year and how that could cause 3-4 teams in a league like the AJHL to not be able to come back, like, it sucks, man. Like, you hear that and you think of the kids who aren't going to get to grow up going to Grand Prairie Storm games, who aren't going to get to go to a Camrose Kodiaks game and fall in love with the sport in their town. And I just think, like I said, it doesn't get talked about very much here in Edmonton. As much as we do support local sports, just the NHL wave will come and it will completely forget about it. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to kind of spew about that and talk about it a little bit, because it's something I'm passionate about. And it really sucks that, this pandemic sucks for a handful of reasons, but this is one of them that, it really kind of hurts.
Well said, Tyler.
And also, I'm going to tie this into the NHL because, like you said, we're in Oilers City. There's no question that if the Oilers are able to get back on the ice in August, everybody's going to be fired up about it. However, looking ahead, who do you think feeds the NHL their players? It's these development leagues like junior and guys that are going to have years of development just wiped out.
Yeah.
And those are your future NHLers that you're going to be watching on a nightly basis. So obviously it's important. And this is a hockey podcast, so it's important that we talk about it. We bring some attention to local sports that are having a really tough time right now. And the impact on, we talk about growing the game a lot. There's always been growing the game abroad, blah, blah, blah. But like Tyler just said, for a lot of people, going to a junior game, or I remember even growing up in a small town north of the city, we didn't have a junior team. Well, we did, but people went out to support the midget AAA team. And you would watch them, and it was kind of like a rallying point for people, and it was fun. And oh man, I cannot wait for this fucking siding to be done on this
that's
complex.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not me this time, guys.
But my point was, that this sucks for so many reasons beyond just what happens at the pro.
Do we think this will in the long term have an effect that draft picks will be a little less skilled in the next couple of years? Just because
For me personally, I don't think there's any impact on the Connor McDavids, the Mitch Marners, whoever you want to talk about.
How about second round picks, third round picks?
No, because I think those kids will still, especially high end NHL draft picks for the most part, are so high. They're in those specialized training programs from the minute they're 14 that the pandemic won't hurt them. But I'm thinking of guys, I mentioned Luke Philp. What if he would have had a year of his development in U Sports or anywhere along the line knocked off? How could that have derailed his career? Ryan Jones was a guy who was playing Junior B before he got to the NHL. What if there's a Ryan Jones out there right now whose Junior B season is canceled and he falls out of it? He doesn't get back into playing hockey. Those guys who, were maybe ready to go on scholarships down south. And I know 3 of them that were playing for the Crusaders. They were supposed to go to Alabama Huntsville next season. Their scholarships wiped out because they closed down the hockey program, eventually got brought back with blah, 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 blah. But those 3 guys who were all tight, they were all friends. They got to go find new teams to play for. And all of a sudden, their talk of, we're going to get to go down to school, play NCAA hockey together, they're split up. It's those things where, maybe a year from now, a guy who was supposed to go to this school down south just goes, man, I can't afford to go anymore now. And it's stuff like that. And you worry about the pipeline of guys playing junior hockey, right? And that's kind of where I was coming from. I don't think there's a Connor McDavid out there who the 1 year of, his minor hockey season being cut short is going to like derail his career or anything.
Well, yeah. And I would say too to that, Tyler, like you said, that those top end guys, they've got specialized coaches that now have a year to really work with them and really hone their skills. So on the flip side, you may see a positive from the top level guys, but you're 100% correct about the ones that get left behind, quote unquote.
So this doesn't open up an opportunity for GMs to start moving draft picks instead and getting better players in turn.
Well, and to me, like I
jump on the situation.
I think to me, like one of the things that Tyler brought up was for a lot of these kids too, you're having a year of memories just completely wiped out. For me, when I was in grade 12, I was playing midget AA. We were going to provincials. There was a group of 18 guys on there. We had a great time. We did all of that. And it's one of my most fond memories from high school. Not only is your general normal high school fucked up, I went to my niece's grade 12 grad last weekend, and she was given her diploma on a stage with one of those like 6-foot claw things that old people used to get things off shelves. It was very bizarre. So, but like, there's a whole generation of kids who they're not going to go to the next level, but playing hockey with their boys, playing hockey with their friends is what they're missing out on, and that sucks.
Yeah, I think you're bang on with that. Like, there's so many parts of there's so many things that are being lost in all this, and local sports is something that, because I'm close to it, I'm obviously passionate about. You mentioned it, the graduations and all that stuff, like those things that you're never going to get back. That's kind of you feel for it, right?
It's tough. I mean, like you said, the pandemic obviously affects everything. But you got to feel for some of these kids that they just want to play sports, and they got that taken away from them. So I'm glad that you wrote about it. I'm glad that you talked about it. And I think it's important.
Thanks, COVID.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It's just like, it sucks. Speaking of COVID, obviously the news broke that right before we started recording, the Tampa Bay Lightning shut down their training facility after 3 players and 2 staff tested positive for COVID-19. The Phillies in the MLB had to shut things down the other day because they had a bunch of players that were training in Florida with the same thing.
The 49ers in the NFL.
My question for you, gentlemen, is what do you think this means for the NHL's plan to come back in August? As we're recording today, it is June 19th, so there's still plenty of time. But like, how do you think this affects the NHL? Is it still too early? Still plenty of time? What do you think?
Well, we have to remember that this is phase 2, right? And so the people that are getting infected may not be or aren't getting infected from their teammates. Usually, it's people that they're interacting with in their daily lives. When we get into phase 3 and then phase 4, things are going to be bubbled up, right? And players are going to be tucked away from the public, and there won't be this exposure yet. So you kind of hope that this pushes phase 3 and 4 ahead a little bit quicker, but yeah, it's still alarming, and it's always alarming to hear the numbers when they come out. But I think it's honestly to be expected.
I think you're bang on with that. I think it is like, I don't think if sports thought they were coming back and we're gonna miraculously not have any players or staff test positive, you're insane. I think they are all sort of prepared for that possibility. What with this Lightning thing, and even with the Philadelphia Phillies, it spreads quick, man. Like it went through that training facility. It got whatever it was, 8 or 9 people. They got to shut it down. And it's like, okay, that was in phase 2. What about in phase 3 when it's a whole team there? If someone's symptoms are undetected, or maybe they don't notice them for a day or two, what's going to happen if there's a team who has 12 players test positive? And out of the 30 people they have at camp, 12 of them have to sit out for the next 2 weeks. And everyone else there has to be getting tested and watched. Like, for me, it was a sobering reminder of how quickly this season could be taken from us again, even if it comes back.
Yeah, I think that it was like you said, it was a reminder. A lot of us kind of probably forgot it was happening almost, it seems like. I mean, I know that's a generalization that doesn't make sense when you look at the big picture, but like, I feel like there's a lot of people that just kind of
took their foot off the gas.
We're through it. Yeah, and so I hope that this is a warning that kind of gets people to go, oh shit, fuck. All right, let's take more precautions. Let's wear the masks out in public. Let's stay home when possible. Like let's all work together on this, because it would suck to lose sports for the year, but there's, like Tyler said a little bit earlier, talk about local sports. There's the entire community that you're in that could be affected about it as well. So all I'm saying is let's look out for each other. Right? Seems easy enough. Right, Dan?
Yep.
Thank you. Gentlemen, we've only got 10 minutes left in this week's podcast, which brings us to the Oodle Noodle Hot and Cold Performers of the Week. Tyler, please get your buttons ready. As always, our friends at Oodle Noodle are donating 10% from all takeout, dine-in, and curbside pickup orders to local charities. This week, they are donating to the Kids with Cancer Society. They're doing great work in the community, and they want to do their part to help. So if you are near any of their 13 locations and looking for something to eat, stop in, give them a call, get a curbside order, and know that not only are you going to be fed well, but also that you're going to be doing your part to help local charities as well. So shout out to the folks at Oodle Noodle for making that happen. I know Jay will be talking about this a little bit more on Nation Happy Hour coming up tonight at 5:30. So that's Wednesday and Friday at 5:30. Jay always gives a rundown on what Oodle Noodle is doing there as well. So looking at the hot and cold performers of the week, we're going to start with the cold side, as we always do, boys. As you're thinking about it, I'll go ahead and get started. Earlier this week, I took my dog out for a walk, as I do. Did a little walk past my vehicle to make sure it was still there. If you do want to steal my vehicle, by the way, I do have replacement insurance on it, so feel free.
Someone from an insurance company is going to be listening to this, and you're going to be fucked.
Yeah, you know what? Don't steal my vehicle, please.
Too late.
For the record, do not steal it. But yeah, somebody broke my window. I walked up and I had my back window smashed out. Now, admittedly, I'm open to the possibility that they were cutting the grass and shot a rock through it or something.
Did they take anything?
No, nothing was taken. So that's why I'm open to the opportunity or the idea that maybe they were cutting grass, landscaping, and shot a rock through it. It happens.
Is there a rock in there with a lot of grass rubbed on it?
Well, that's a good question, my friend. I did a thorough investigation, and there was no rock inside. There was no rock near the vehicle, and there was no grass thrown about the tires or anything like that. So, what am
we need a detective.
What am I led to believe? Yeah, if you haven't listened to yesterday's Real Life, listen to Chalmers' story about when he chased down a guy that stole his truck. It was hilarious. But my cold performer of the week is going out to whichever D-bag broke the window in my whip. Thank you. Mr. Rick, your Oodle Noodle cold performer of the week.
Well, I know a lot of you guys are staying at home or trying to stay at home, so you probably haven't wandered too far downtown lately. And I know this is on repeat because this happens every year around the same time for the same period of time. But construction is getting fucking out of control downtown. It is absolutely ridiculous. Let's figure this shit out. Let's just do one road, finish it, start the next road. Don't start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop all over the goddamn city. Please.
Oh, that's cold.
I like the please at the end of that. Mr. Nation, Dan, your Oodle Noodle cold performer of the week.
Well, it's one of those things where we're in such news cycles now where it's like, what is going to be the next fire that's going to make us forget the previous fire that we saw? But the Buffalo Sabres this week have had one of the biggest weeks from a team in recent memory, where they went and fired their entire staff, sans Ralph Kruger, who somehow avoided getting fired when he got fired on Skype previously, including their AHL team as well. So yeah, the Buffalo Sabres are my cold performer of the week, and I think that the Oilers have had a long-standing run of being the joke of the league, but I think the Buffalo Sabres, with their moves this week, have taken that crown from us. It's now all theirs, and they can have some fun relenting in the anguish that is all NHL fans making fun of them. So Buffalo Sabres, my cold performer of the week.
Burr, burr,
I also think as Oilers fans, we need to remember more often that we should be thanking the Buffalo Sabres, because in 2015 they tanked. It was the tank of all tanks. They were fishing for Connor McDavid. Tim Murray was convinced they were going to get him. And when Edmonton won the lottery, he said, well, shucks, or whatever he said, basically pissing on Jack Eichel's face without actually saying anything about it. And then the year before, they also picked Sam Reinhart instead of Leon Draisaitl. So I want to go ahead and thank the Buffalo Sabres for their fine work. They're doing good things over there in Buffalo. I appreciate you. Flipping the ledger, of course, to the hot performers of the week.
Do I get to go?
Oh, you didn't go. So you know what? You can name me your cold performer of the week for forgetting about Tyler.
It's okay.
Your Oodle Noodle cold performer of the week.
Hashtag block your Amtrak. My cold performer of the week, not just slow golfers, but slow golfers who don't let you play through. Yesterday, I went golfing. Tee time at 6:30. 9 holes. I want to take my girlfriend out because I'm starting to teach her how to golf. Her first time on a not par 3 course. So it was a big day for us. She's not very good. We by no means golf fast. The group in front of us goes off. It's 2 couples. We finish the first hole. We wait for them to be off the green. We finish the first hole, par 4. We are walking. We get to the second hole. This group is still teeing off. No one in front of them. It took us. We got to the end of the 4th hole. I did this whole rant today on the radio, so I'm sorry if anyone's hearing this for the second time. But we got to the end of the 4th hole. Our tee time was at 6:30. It was 8:15. We were just getting to the 4th hole.
In 2 hours.
In almost 2 hours, man. So we finished the 4th hole, and again, this group is slow. After the second hole, we walk up to the tee box, and the one lady turns to the other guy and goes, should we let them play through? And he goes, nah, and gets in his cart and drives off. I'm like, how are you guys going this slow? I know there's 4 of you and 2 of us, but you're in power carts. Also, it's taken us almost 2 hours. So I did something I've never done before. I skipped a hole. Oh. I was like, fuck it. I don't care. It's going to be like 10:15 by the time we get out of here. So I skipped a hole. Never done that before. But anyways, my slow performer of the week, slow golfers, because
they are just fucking ass right now.
So I had a question though. Like, there was no marshal that was kind of cruising around or anything like that?
Nope, they didn't.
Not right now.
Yeah. Oh, I was so
a lot of marshals aren't on the course right now.
It's lawless on the golf courses.
You should have started firing some drives down them.
Oh man, breaking news while we're talking here.
Yeah,
Austin Matthews has tested positive for COVID-19.
Woo-wee.
It's getting real.
It's a lot of sports news in one day.
We're getting a lot of sports news.
Where is he? He's not in Toronto, is he?
I think he's in Arizona.
And I mean, that could. I'm just scanning this while we're talking here to see.
Gone into quarantine at his home in Arizona, hoping to be healthy enough to eligible to travel to Toronto and participate in camp July 10th. So he's in Arizona and he's quarantined at home in Arizona.
Jeez.
Well, I mean, he's doing what he has to do, right? And obviously, you want Austin Matthews, one of the biggest stars in the league, to be back and healthy for hopefully when this thing gets going again. So
also Freddie Anderson, their goalie, has spent a lot of time with him during this break as well.
Well, yeah,
he's no longer living with Matthews and no longer in Arizona, so I don't know when their last cross paths was, but so he might be okay. But
this is tricky. It's tricky. Obviously, you want Austin Matthews to bounce back, but it's going to be interesting.
Well, dude, honestly, for the most part, when these guys get this, it's very, very small, right? Like Zeke had it and didn't even know. You know, so many guys have had it and didn't even really know about it. So hopefully, it just follows along suit with everybody else, where it's just, you know, you get it, it's gone. Sure, you had a couple days where it wasn't too rough, and that's for the most part, because we've seen the other half of it, and it looks really bad on the other side.
So hopefully that's where he's at, is on one of those people that can just kind of skate through it and have minimal effects. Finishing up the hot cold performers of the week, we're flipping to the ledger. Going to the hot side. Nation Dan, your Oodle Noodle hot performer of the week.
Well, it has to include a couple of my fellow podcasters right here. But it's my buddy and family friend Jordan Buhat and the Nation Real Life crew for that interview this week. It was a lot of fun to listen to. You guys did a great job asking questions, and he's just a fun dude to listen to. So good job to you guys, and good job, Jordan.
Cash money.
Go download, subscribe to Real Life Podcast. Yeah, Jordan was great. He was super excited. He was wearing a Keep Nuge Forever tee on the call. He's just a massive Oilers fan. He's also an ON radio listener as well. So shout out to Jordan Buhat. He was great. New season of Grownish hopefully starts recording soon. That's what he told us, right, Tyler? Like they're hoping to get back to work fairly soon.
Yeah, he said they're hoping to get back at it right away here.
Mr. Yaremchuk, I'm not going to forget you this time. Your Oodle Noodle Hot Performer of the Week.
I know, and now I'm on the spot, and I don't remember what my pick was going to be. I'm going to give a thumbs up. I didn't do this last week. I'm going to give a thumbs up to golf, man. They seem to be coming back. I mean, they had a player test positive. They removed him from the tournament before it started. They isolated him, all that stuff. But, today there was a lot of negative news with COVID and sports returning, obviously. But golf has been good. They've come back. No major issues. The sport looks great. It's on TV. I can watch it. I can bet on it. So for me, I am personally very, very happy that golf is back. So my shout out goes to the PGA Tour.
I love
mixing that one in there.
So good.
Rick, your Oodle Noodle Hot Performer of the Week.
Well, this might be a little on the nose, but I'm going to give it to Oodle Noodle themselves. If you've watched them, what they've been doing during this whole 3 months of weirdness, they've been providing food and meals for a lot of less fortunate people throughout at least the city, as far as I understand. So, yeah, I'm going to give it out to Oodle Noodle and Jay and Sonny and everyone else who is involved in helping the less fortunate get through these times.
I love the delay sometimes. It's the best. My Oodle Noodle Hot Performer of the Week, we talked about it, but I'm going to give it another shout out. I want to give Cooper Marody a shout out for Agape, the song he wrote to honor Colby Cave. All proceeds from that song go to the Colby Cave Memorial Foundation. So my Oodle Noodle Hot Performer of the Week is Agape by Cooper Marody.
This is hot.
It was hot. Great tune, too. From all of us at Oilers Nation Radio, I want to thank our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant, skipthedishes.ca, and Oodle Noodle for making all of this possible. I also want to thank you, the listener, for being here. Please download, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a coworker, tell a relative, tell whoever you see on the street that they should be listening to Oilers Nation Radio. That's episode 91. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Shout out Damien.
Thanks for listening to Oilers Nation Radio, a member of the Nation Network of Podcasts. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media to stay up to date and never miss a podcast.